we are going to break away from the dictionary's limited definition of profit and profitable, which only account for financial profits. Instead, we focus on all the ways that an individual's decision or action can be profitable to that individual.
You're listening to the Profit First for Lawyers podcast, the official companion show to the book Profit First for Lawyers by RJon Robins. Now, this podcast is for you if you want to bring home more profit while working fewer hours in the office, spending even more time with your loved ones, and turning your office into a lean, mean, profit-breathing machine. So if you're tired of working for your law firm instead of your law firm working for you, stay tuned for some really practical insights that will get you the results you've always wanted. It's time to put your BS aside for the next few minutes and put yourself, your family, your firm, and your profit first. Welcome back to the Profit First for Lawyers podcast. I'm your host, Carly, and today I am lucky enough to be in studio with one of our fabulous members, Rose Coonen. Rose, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to get you in the studio today. And for those that don't know, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your law firm? What kinds of problems do you solve for your clients?
I'm an attorney in Michigan. We're in the Grand Rapids area, and we work with clients to provide holistic planning to make sure their families are taken care of in the event of an incapacity or a death. So our goal is to keep them out of probate court and keep them out of conflict.
What kind of got you interested in this area of law?
I started general practice and handled a lot of different things. And what I was finding time and again is that we were ending up in court. We were litigating things with families. And I was seeing families just destroyed and relationships destroyed and fights over nominal things. And so I thought, there has to be a better way to do this. And so that's where I kind of took a step back and changed how we practice and change how we do estate planning and business planning to make it more holistic. That our goal is, yes, we still want to preserve assets and make sure families are taken care of, but we also want to preserve those intangibles, which are those family relationships and values and everything else that a family wants to pass on.
I've spoken to so many law firm owners from different practice areas and even some of the same practice areas, and it's always so interesting to me how they approach law differently. That even though you and a former guest might be both estate planners, like the way that you have described what you do and what you specialize in is so different from them. And it just kind of reinforces that teaching that I have heard RJon and a bunch of other folks at How to Manage a Small Law Firm say, right? Which is that there is no true competition, right? You're competing with yourself and also this abundance mindset that, you might practice the same type of law, but your clients are needing something specific that you can provide that somebody else might not. So you're not really in competition.
Right. And it's funny you say that because we say that all the time here. Like, there's no competition. It's even though there's other attorneys in the area that do estate planning, that do business planning. And this is an area where people are more collaborative too, because we all do it different. And a family's either going to connect with us in the way we do it or they're not. And so it is freeing in that regard that there is no competition.
So Rose, I know that you brought a clip from the studio today. Do you want to go ahead and introduce it?
Sure. So this clip is really discussing what profit is, where typically, we think of that as financial profit. And so this goes a little deeper into that.
Okay, nice, succinct. I love that tease. Let's roll the clip.
We are going to break away from the dictionary's limited definition of profit and profitable, which only account for financial profits. Instead, we focus on all the ways that an individual's decision or action can be profitable to that individual, because the value derived is worth more to that person than what is being sacrificed. Sometimes the value is financial, sometimes it's personal, sometimes the value derived from a transaction, an action taken, or even an action not taken is professional in nature. These are the three main ways we measure profitable activity.
This is one of my favorite topics to get to discuss. So I'm so glad that you brought this today. Okay, Rose, why does this clip and this section of the book really speak to you?
It speaks to me because I was of that traditional mindset where profit was financial and it was so much focused on revenue and making more. And this just brought a shift to break that traditional mold, right? Profit's not just what we see on a profit and loss statement. And so taking a step back and looking at, profit can be defined as what brings value, not just financial value. And so really implementing the profit first process for me, it has, while it has grown profits financially, right? That is a benefit, but that's not all it's brought. For me, it's being able to not take clients that are toxic, right? And address stress and work-life balance in that regard. From a personal standpoint, this has allowed us to grow our profits to the point where my husband could leave his job and he has joined the firm. And so profit for me is I get to carpool to work every day with my husband, right? And our daughter just recently joined the firm. And so it's focused on family. Like that's part of profit for me as well. That's rewarding. And the financial piece just comes along with it.
Obviously, Profit First is meant to help you take home a profit and think about profits differently. And I love that for you, that shift really has been more in the, value that I receive, not only from getting more in my financial accounts. I am sure that's probably both personally and professionally, right? But also, the kinds of clients that you're taking in and the kinds of time that you're able to spend with your family, especially now that your family is also close. I imagine that you guys must be rock solid to be so excited about carpooling every day to work with the people that you live with. Oh, that's so beautiful. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because I know that's one of the things that I hear most often is that for a lot of law firm owners who go to the typical bar functions, that this kind of lifestyle for a law firm owner feels either like a pipe dream or like, oh, that only works for people who are blue-eyed or colorblind or left-handed or whatever, right? Like, what has that really been like for you to be able to pick and choose your clients, and maybe talk a little bit too about how it's been better for your clients?
Yeah. So it's freeing. I mean, it's just totally freeing to know that I don't have to take every case that comes our way, right? Because some of those cases, just the stress and mental load can be draining, and that's sucking profit, right? That personal satisfaction. And so, for somebody that thinks it's not possible or they can't do it, you just start. It's a shift in mindset, and you just start, right? And it doesn't matter what size you are or where you're at. You just slowly start putting, following the principles, set up those profit accounts, and start doing it and implementing. And it gives you that foundation and that freedom to be able to make those decisions. From the standpoint of my clients, it makes me more present because I can sit and hold space with them where we can have difficult conversations, and there's not other things like clogging up my mind, like, payroll or, the common worries and anxieties that a small business owner might have. I can step away from that side because we've implemented these principles, and it does make me more present. I can dig deeper with clients and really get to pain points and how can we really serve them, especially in the estate planning world where sometimes they don't always bring their issues up right away. We have to kind of dig for it because some of it could be family dynamics that they might not want to mention. And so by being able to just be more present and be able to sit with them in that space, it lets us craft better plans for them.
Can you give us a before and after snapshot? How long have you had your firm? What was it like? And then once you implemented Profit First, and if you're comfortable sharing numbers, I'd love to hear them.
We are actually tomorrow celebrating our 15th anniversary. So the firm's been around for 15 years. So when we started, it was primarily myself, and I had a part-time assistant. And for many years, it was very much that solo working a ton of hours, sacrificing family time. My kids were little at the time. And so now it's just been a complete shift. Implementing Profit First. I think we implemented it maybe 3 years ago now. And we have grown last year. We ended the year at about 1.3 million in revenues. And we have so we compete against ourselves, right? And we have a very competitive team. So we have a hefty goal this year of 3.3 million. And so what this has done is it's allowed us to be able to build, right? Because we are setting aside those profits for reinvestment into the team, into the firm. And like I said, we've been able to grow. And so now we're probably, I lose track on how many team members we actually have because we've made some hires recently, but I want to say we're about 12 team members now. And we just keep growing and we're expanding into new office space. And so it's really exciting, that we get to serve more families in this holistic way that we've been doing. So it just allows us to make a bigger impact.
Yeah, Rose, man, what a goal. Talk about dreaming bigger. You're essentially, I mean, just shy of trying to triple your firm this year. That's so great. How are you doing so far? I know we're officially out of Q1.
We've had to do some adjustments and think outside of the box. And now that we're through Q1, this was kind of our set the stage. In Q2, we've got to start ramping, but we are not far off from where we projected we would be. So, yeah. And it's exciting. The team's on board. The team knows the mission of the firm to serve families. And so being able to do that every day, everybody just shows up.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, and I can agree with that too. Obviously, I'm very invested in the mission of the place where I work, right? Like How to Manage a Small Law Firm has a really great mission there too. And it's so much easier to get out of bed, to pop up, to get to my desk. Not every day is the best day ever. But I would rather work somewhere where the mission really drives me on its worst day than to work somewhere on its best day that didn't, that I was just kind of ambivalent about. Because you're right, there's some professional satisfaction from knowing that, not only do I get to do work that I love, but also I get to make a difference in a community that I feel is really important. And it sounds like that's something that your team is really driving towards too.
Yeah. And just the fact that we've been able to create jobs, right? We now have a team of 12 plus where, it was just me and a part-time assistant. And now we've been able to add not just to our clients' lives, but to the team and give them work-life satisfaction and professional satisfaction. And that all just comes back to that profit. While it's not something we can necessarily measure with money, right? It's that personal satisfaction.
Yeah, or not something that you can only measure with money, for sure. What was the difference like? Because obviously you had your firm for about 12 years before you started implementing these other principles. What were revenues last year were 1.3. What were they at the last year before you started?
Probably around 200,000 a year. And very nominal growth year over year. So it was very much a lot of work and not really leveraging time and resources.
Yeah. Did you start with HTM around the same time that you started Profit First?
Shortly after I started HTM, I started Profit First. Yes. And that's just a game changer. Like, and when my husband came into the firm, so he's been with the firm almost a year now, and he is our director of ops. So he's handling a lot of the admin, and he was, I showed him Profit First, and he's like, why wouldn't a business owner do this? This just makes so much sense. Like, yeah.
That's so great. How did you decide to get started? I mean, I know it's a little bit scary, especially when your firm, kind of consistently year over year didn't have a ton of growth. Like, was it scary for you to think about putting some profits aside?
It wasn't scary to think about doing it. What prompted it was I went through a cash crunch. And while trying to grow, while trying to add team members, expand space, I hit a cash crunch, and that was a nightmare. I'm like, I don't want that to happen again. And there's a better way, and this is the route we're going. So we started small. I mean, I feel like we started with like 1%, like, so that it just was simple, and we've grown. And so now we pretty much run the firm at about 70% of the revenue. Everything else is going into those profit accounts. And then we decide, right? Are we bonusing the team? Are we making improvements and investments into the firm? Or is that coming out as owner compensation? And so just to have that freedom and flexibility, we can make choices from a more proactive standpoint, I guess, more than reactive, right? When you're in a cash crunch, you're reactive. Everything's reactive. How you show up for clients is reactive, which isn't good for them either. And so by implementing this, like I just can't imagine not doing it.
Wow, that is a lot of growth in a very short amount of time compared to the time before that. I am positive that your subconscious must have been screaming at you. How did you make yourself keep going forward in the midst of so much change, even good positive change?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I think it's, bringing my husband into the firm, bringing him into, just the different ways that HTM teaches us to handle things, the mindset work, PPM, right? That reading lots of books, doing those type of things to keep it top of mind, because it is easy to fall back into, how we did things, or if all of a sudden we've got a week where we've got clients that cancel, and now it's like, oh no, everything's falling apart and we're gonna hit another cash crunch, right? It's calming down, right? Represencing myself and just sticking with it. So, I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, I think that happens to everybody, where sometimes we revert to those old ways, but it's catching myself and just looking back at what we've accomplished and where we're going.
Yeah. One of the things that I like most about what both Mike Michalowicz and RJon said in both of their books, right, was kind of that tapping into additional owners' creativity. Did you have that moment? I mean, you're running your firm on, I imagine, significantly less of an operating budget than you used to back in the day, but your firm is growing. What kinds of things did you get creative about in early days that have led to some of this pretty massive, impressive growth?
We think outside of the box. We do different things. Like from the estate planning standpoint, we're really big on educating the community, because there is a lot of misinformation out there, or people just don't know where to start. And so we've tried to make it fun, less intimidating. And so, while you think typically, okay, estate planning attorneys might hold a seminar and do something, we do events that are more fun. So I took my son's advice, which he was 12 at the time, and our best event is a Wieners and Wills, and we do a hot dog bar and we talk about estate planning, and that is just more relaxed. And so we get a lot of people that come to our events, and that has allowed us just to break down that barrier of intimidation, where people might be intimidated to talk with an attorney, and that allows us to reach more people, and that's been a huge benefit in growing.
Oh, can you talk about logistically, like what that looks like a little bit more? Because I think that is something that would be really valuable and fun for listeners to swipe and deploy. What does that look like? So somebody shows up to Wieners and Will. That's such a great name. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm internally a 12-year-old boy. But what kind of happens from there? How is the structure of the event?
Yeah, so we hold the event at it's at the Corner Bar, and they have like the hot dog wall of fame, like people that have eaten the most hot dogs, they're on the wall of fame, and we hold it there, and they show up. We have a hot dog buffet. So they get their dinner, they get drinks, and we just give a little presentation, and we talk about like what happens if you don't plan? What happens if you don't make it home tonight? What's that look like for your family? And how can we plan against that? And then we give opportunity to answer any questions. And we see that as serving the community, getting some information out there. A lot of people have heard certain terms, like they've heard probate or they've heard estate planning, and they really don't know what that means. And so just by getting that information out there, they can see how might that apply to them personally so that they can take action. Because the more people that take action, then we can protect these families.
Well, and I will say for myself, and this is great information for anybody who's listening at home, right? Like, if you did not go to law school, I did not go to law school, right? I don't even always know what the options are until I started working for How to Manage, until RJon literally sat me down. And I had an episode, we spoke about this last year, and I got a little bit choked up about it too. We'll link it in the show notes. But I didn't even realize that as a 30-something person, right, that I would need or even want to get an estate plan. That just seemed like, oh, that's something you do when you're older. And so I think that is such a valuable resource to the community and really could be applied to most other practice areas that I'm thinking of. You know, you don't know what you don't know until you realize that you don't know it. And so do that service, because what lawyers do is really, really valuable and really, really important.
And in the long run, again, if they're proactive and do some planning, it can save time, it can save money, it can protect those family relationships. And while they haven't accumulated assets, they're young adults yet, they still, right? They still need those incapacity documents, and we still need to do that type of planning. So yeah, we try to make it available for everybody.
I think it's exactly what you're saying, right? Thinking outside the box. How can I provide additional value that is also good for my firm? And I think one of the most telling things, Rose, is that not only have your revenues grown, but also, you know, how many people really were you able to help in a year that you were making $200,000 as the firm, that the firm was making $200,000? And how many people were you able to help last year?
When I look at it, like what we do in a month now is what we used to do in a whole year. And so being able to protect more families, definitely we can make a bigger difference.
I think that's something we hear a lot, is that a lot of lawyers are uncomfortable with the word profit because it's seen as selfish. But you can't really make additional profit or you know, double your firm without also at least doubling the amount of people that you're helping and or providing additional value to the people that you're helping. So really trying to stay smaller or not making a profit is not really doing anybody any good. It's not helping you, it's not helping your family, and it's certainly not helping your community, who you could serve more if you had additional resources to help them.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot like you said, where, you know, profit in the legal field might be seen as like a dirty word, right? We're here to serve clients and have integrity, but there's not a disconnect between the two, right? We still can have profit. We're so busy advocating for clients and making sure we're protecting them. And sometimes we forget we also have to advocate for ourselves. Implementing profit first is one way to do that, to make sure we're protecting the profits, protecting ourselves. We can't do the best job and advocate for our clients if we're not also taking care of ourselves, right? It's like putting that oxygen mask on yourself first.
What was one of the tips or tricks that you put in place that made it easier for you to make sure that you didn't backtrack? You know, you said you implemented profit first when you were in a cash crunch. So I imagine, right, like trying to leave that account alone probably wasn't the easiest at that time. Like, what are some things that you have done to make sure that you were honoring your commitment and seen this growth?
Just following the process, having that separate account that everything comes into, and that just receives all of the income, and then it divvies out among the different accounts, and we just leave it. We look at what's left to operate the firm on, and we make it work. And that's sticking to a budget and really keeping an eye on our numbers and being able to project out what's going to happen in the future. And it really is getting a handle on all those numbers, which again, a lot of attorneys are like, well, I'm not good with numbers. I get comfortable with the numbers, just implement it, and just follow it. Like, don't overthink it. Like attorneys, we're really great at overthinking things. You want something overthought? Hey, give it to me. This, you can't overthink it. You just have to implement it and stick with it.
Oh, I really, really like that. Okay, if I was going to distill everything that we've talked about so far, it would be view your profit as more than just what's coming into your bank account. Not that we don't expect that more is going to come into your bank account when you implement Profit First, because that's what we've seen time and time again, right? Profit is derived from more than just financials. It needs to be personally and professionally profitable too. And then I would say, get creative and do think outside the box. Not only is that a necessary tenet of Profit First, of the system itself, right? But number two, you might think of additional ways to really help and serve your community in a way that's going to end up being very meaningful to you and meaningful for your community. And then number three, just do it, right? Take the plunge. I think it is so courageous of you, Rose, that you did take this plunge in the middle of a cash crunch, because I think that's when a lot of people would be like, let me just fix this first and then I'll do it, right? And the level of growth, it is really telling, right? You had your law firm for a good 12 years, and this is when you started seeing the massive growth. And obviously it wasn't the only thing that you had implemented at that time, but it is, as you said, it has made a really significant difference. So see profit in more than one way. Make sure that you are being creative, and also just do it. Just get started. It doesn't matter what the time frame is. I always like, if you'll indulge me, I always like to end the show on one of my very favorite questions. Speaking of profit being more than one thing, right? And that is, what is one of the most profitable pieces of advice that you have taken action on since joining the How to Manage community that has made a really big difference in your life? And it doesn't have to be at all related to anything we've spoken about so far. So feel free to wander off the beaten path here.
Not being afraid to let go of team members that aren't on the same page, that don't have the same values, aren't serving clients in the same way, don't have the same values, I guess. It's easier, it's more profitable from a standpoint of, hey, we like coming to work because we like the people we're working with, and everybody's working towards the same goal when everybody's on the same page. So not being afraid to let people that aren't performing to that level go.
Oh, I feel like that's a hard one, but I'm really glad that you stated it too, because I think that's a fear of a lot of people, that I don't want to let somebody go. And anyway, I won't go off on too many bunny trails here, but I do love that is something that you brought into, because I think it's better for your team also. You are building a staff that rows the boats in the same direction, and so it is a kindness when you kick somebody out of the boat that is not rowing in the same direction, or that doesn't have their paddle fully in the water.
There's been times the team knows before me, and so that just solidifies that's the right move. But it becomes easier to spot those type of situations when you're watching for it, right? And it helps in the growth when you let them go, because then you can all move in the same direction.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Rose, if somebody needed a estate planning and or probate services in the Michigan area, how would they get a hold of your law firm?
Check out our website. We have lots of resources. It's Coonen-law.com. Lots of resources, lots of education on our website. Again, just serving the community and providing what we can.
Yes, and we will put those links in our show notes below as well. Rose, I'm so glad that we got you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It was fun.
And for the folks at home who are listening, please feel free to swipe and deploy, check out some of those resources, and as always, make sure that you are putting your profits first. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Profit First for Lawyers podcast. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, tell a friend and buy your copy of the book at profitfirstforlawyers.com. Your future self will thank you for it, and we will see you next time.